Policy and Planning, and in this first week of this course, that is the first week and first topic which I am going to cover is about the introductory part to social policy. That is, when we talk about the introduction, that is the introduction to social policy. It is about what will you learn from this course, and in the first lecture what are the learning objectives related to the policy part of it, that is how policies are being made, what is the significance and relevance of the policy making system, what are the characteristics, goals. You'll get to know a historical background of the policy, how it had emerged, the evolution of policy, the difference between social policy and public policies. Now, if I talk about policy making system, or rather why policies are important, what is the need, what is the significance of policy. Ours is a welfare state, particularly if we talk about India, it's a developing country, it is a welfare state, and we have this idea of welfare state where the state has to be obliged to provide the welfare safety nets to the larger population, be it the marginalized section, be it the underprivileged. So, the need of policy arises because it addresses various social concerns, social issues. It aligns with the government's, the government tries to align with the needs and desires, the demands, the expectations of the public, the people at large. It tries to promote social equality. It creates social equity, it tries to bring about a balances, reducing any imbalances, and it promotes social welfare, it provides a support system for the marginalized group. When we talk about the need for policy, particularly if we look into the need, there are certain points, that is first of all addressing societal issues. Now there are a huge number of societal issues, starting from education, health, housing, or rather affordable housing, environmental depletion, environmental need to control, need to protect or preserve our environment, employment opportunities, healthcare system, infrastructure development. There are a lot of host of issues, tackling poverty, trying to eliminate any kind of discrimination which would be affecting the society at large. Secondly, it promotes public welfare. Now, public welfare is a concern which is largely rested upon the shoulders of the government. Although the government functions through an institutions, and whatever policies, what the mechanisms of policies are made through institutions. So, public welfare, it is about when if you, in order to bring about a smooth functioning of the government, in order to create a balance to reduces inequality. So, it is very important that people are being protected, they are being safeguarded, their vested interests are looked into, their needs, their desires and expectations are taken care of, and so it overall it brings about the concept, the idea of welfare as well as well-being. Thirdly, it fosters economic growth. When we talk about policies, it is just not about social policies as we move ahead, it is also about economic policies, it is also about health policies, it is also about education policies. But nevertheless, initially it initiates economic growth, whereby people are giving, the people are given larger opportunities. It is when we had initiated the first 5-year plans, when India had achieved independence, and during the first 5-year plans, the first few plans, the first 3, 4, 5-year plans, it targeted on economic growth, it focused on agricultural development, and it was being considered that economic growth, economic development was of utmost importance as along with social aspect. So, economic enhancements were there by creating employment opportunities, by strengthening our industries, bringing about establishment of new industries, as well as looking into the agrarian aspect. Thirdly, ensure social justice. When we talk about ensuring social justice, policies are important in creating a balance. When we talk about justice, we talk about creating equity and equitable resources. It talks about the fair means of treatment under the eyes of law. As we all know that nobody is above law, and especially the judgments, the legislations, the enactments which has been passed, which are being framed by the government, it ensures that justice is being maintained. When we talk about justice, that is you need to be fair, you need to be transparent, you need to be you create a balance where everybody has been given an opportunity to ensure that that justice is being done, because whatever laws, legislations, rules are being framed in the society, they are for all the citizens, and every citizen has to conform to it. They have to abide those rules and equality, those rules and regulations. So in a way we say that social justice, it is important, it creates social justice, it ensures that justice is being meted out and everybody is being treated in a fair manner. Next, it enhances government governance and democracy. Now when we say policies tend to bring about governance and democracy, the right to exercise, everybody has a have that kind of freedom, that kind of liberty, as in the name of, as being said by Amartya Sen, that freedom of choice is there. So democratic nations give that freedom, that ability, that choices of opportunities of exercising your rights, which has been enshrined in the constitution, which has been enshrined in which has been given through fundamental rights as well as directive principles of state policy. So it ensures that democracy is being maintained. When we have that adult franchise, when we have the right to vote, we are electing our own people. So the policy states that in a democratic nation where everybody has been given the opportunity, the abilities, or rather if we say that people have large number of options available to them, and you are free to exercise those rights, and violation of any of those rights, particularly the fundamental rights, it is justiciable in the court. So it maintains democracy because you have the entitlement, you have the privilege to vote, to elect a leader who would look after your welfare needs. Policy also talks about governance. Now when we say that governance, if we talk about various aspect of governance, whether it's a state government, whether it's a central government, or whether it's the governance at the grassroots level, that is the Panchayati Raj system, or the villages, which the village community where there is a system of, there is a hierarchy maintained starting from the very basic, that is the micro level, the meso level and the macro level, where the village, the state as well as the country at the larger front, they all function. Now when we talk about the governance, of course policies are government instruments, and through institutional through the government indeed. So when we talk about governance, it ensures that what type of governance is there, and it talks about that how this governance, it being fair, being talking about the secular principles, talking about communal harmony, talking about creating being something very smoothly functioning in the society. So it says that whether it's in democracy and governance, it goes together, and how the state, how the center is obliged, how the government is obliged to run the nation. Now when you talk about running the nation, running a whole gamut of institutions through which policies are being implemented, it is a bureaucratic system. When you talk about the governance, it is also the bureaucratic system through which policies are being formulated and are being implemented. Next is managing complexities. Ours, if you talk about India, particularly India is a subcontinent where you have diverse population, people coming from various backgrounds, and there are a lot of complexities, there are a lot of cultural, societal, cultural issues, linguistically also people are different. So being a diverse population, there is a whole gamut of complexities arising from the socio-cultural aspects of individual, different sections, from north to south, from east to west, you have different cultural patterns. So it becomes very important that the policies look into these complexities. What kind of policies are being framed? Which is the what is the target population? What are the most pressing needs and demands of the people? Keeping intact the cultural vulnerabilities, keeping intact the socio-political nature of a country. It is very important that how would you manage these complexities, and how would you cater to the needs of all the diverse population within a nation. Secondly, it promotes long term sustainability. Now policies are made but not with the notion of being rigid. They are flexible and they change with time to time. It is what the policies which was there 20 or 30 years before, it would not be applicable looking into the changing scenario, changing socio-political structure of any nation. So it is the goals, the objectives, there are mergers of policies also, there are merger of schemes and programs, but then the broader goals and objectives remains or are being framed for a long term sustainability. Whenever a policy comes to a flow, that at least maximum or minimum 10 to 15 years, we understand how it is going to function, what would be the pros and cons, what if it is a success, it would be replicated in other parts. If it's a failure, it could be looked into that what are the reasons, what are the factors which are responsible for this failure. So policy for that matter, it ensures that it is sustainable, its validity, it talking about its validity and reliability, and it is efficient and effective, so that maximum benefit could be achieved through that policy system. Secondly, effective administration, for the proper mechanism, for the proper implementation and formulation, it is necessary that effective mechanisms are available, because policies are being transferred or they are being implemented through the government functions. There are institutions, whether it's social institutions, whether it's political institutions, whether it is economic institutions. So when these institutions, there's a way of implementing the policies, there are deliberations, suggestions. So effective mechanism requires proper monitoring, proper supervision, proper implementation, and lastly proper evaluation of the policy. And lastly, public policy education. When you talk about policy, it not only entails or it not only talks about the significance of social policies and economic, but then largely it is about the education policy. Now this is all why policy is required. Now we talk about what is a policy, and then we will discuss what is a social policy, what is a public policy, and how they are integrated. When we say what is a policy, policy is a set of statement of principles, values and intent which outlines the expectations and provide a basis for the consistent decision making process and resource allocation, in the context of a specific issue. So policies are the chief tools of governance for an institution, and policy denotes or it talks about how it has to be implemented. So in a way it is elements for guidance of action, what action has to be taken and in which direction. So we can say that policies are authoritative decision, because there is authority, there's a supreme body which ultimately drafts the policies, look into the policy making system, formulate a policy, implement a policy. Secondly, it is a principles or is a course of action, guidelines or a rule which gives a sense of direction, that in what manner the policy has to be formulated and in which direction it has to move. Thirdly, it is a purposive course of action. When we say it is a purposive course of action, it means that policy has to have certain objectives, goals, there is a framework behind that action, because it is a continuous process of providing welfare means, providing maximum benefit to the larger population. It is a course of action where you need to bring about changes in the society, right? When we say changes in the society, these are positive changes. One important aspect of policy making would be bringing about changes, certain desirable changes. So that is what is the current situation and how this current situation would be changed from now to in the future part of it. So it's a course of action where you find prominent changes in the society. It bring about a societal change in the society. So it follows a course of action where you need to follow a system. A protocol is there that in what ways a policy has to be formed, and that, lastly, it is an action of government because it is a government body, and it is through the institutions of governance. Now, if we say there are various ways of defining policy, Peter Self, there are numerous authors, writers, scholars who had given various definitions of policies, which gives a clear demarcation that what policies are. Some of them opines that it is a changing directives which talks about as the how a task should be done, how it should be interpreted and performed. Here I would like to quote also Sir Geoffrey Vicker. He has said that policies are decisions giving directions, coherence, continuity to the course of action for which the decisions making body is responsible. Now, when we talk about implementation or when we talk about formulation, there are experts, there is a group of people who are at the helm of affairs and who are the decision making body, and through which the policies are being implemented, like economic institutions or political institutions. Carl J. Frederick also regards policy as a proposed course of action of a person or a group or government within a given environmental providing obstacles and opportunities which the policies was proposed to utilize and overcome in an effort to reach a goal or realize an objective or a purpose. Again, James Anderson also suggested that it is again a purposive course of action which is followed by a set of actors dealing with the problem or a matter of concern, and David Easton also defines policies as output of the political system and public policy as the authoritative allocation of values of the whole society. Now, when we talk about these defining aspects, certain elements comes out of these definition, that is what is the relevance or what is the importance of social policy. Like, it brings about social welfare, it promotes social welfare, which enhances the quality of life of the individuals, communities and the nation at the larger front. It ensures social justice, bringing about a balance, removing any kind of inequalities, providing a support system to the marginalized group, tackling issues which could result in oppression or discrimination or violent practices. So, it ensures social justice, so no discriminatory